Hi everyone, Life Coach Krissa here. Hello, January 2026. All right, so if you've already hit a wall with your January goals and desires and aspirations, I want you to hear this. You aren't weak. You're actually very well protected. Today, we're digging into why your brain resists the very change that you want the most and how we move from exhaustion of willpower to the sustainable power of capacity. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This month I'm talking all about nervous system capacity and why your brain, like mine, wants to resist change. So I want to start with a little confession. For years, I had these big ideas, career goals, relationships goals, fitness goals, and they lived in my mind, but I didn't know what to do with them exactly. I thought that if I just focused on the right amount of time, the right actions, and if I pushed hard enough, I would get there. But here's what actually happened: burnout, fatigue, total frustration. I noticed that I started looking at everything outside of me, thinking that if only this person would change, or if my family business would be able to do this one thing, then all this will fall together, then I'll be successful. Well, I fell into the trap of thinking that I really wasn't in control. And so in a world of science, we kind of call this the top-down approach, right? You're using your thinking brain to try to force your body into submission. But force does not work long term. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that handles willpower, is like a battery. It has a limited amount of energy. And when it runs out, your quality of work declines, your mood tanks, and you may even quit. So what I've learned and what I work to teach my clients is really stemming from information from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. He says that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Because willpower is a mood, a system is a solution. And if you don't have a system that supports your nervous system, you're going to trip that breaker every single time. So I really realized this is about systems, right? We need to have the systems in place that allow us to move towards those goals. So when I talk about nervous system capacity, I'm actually talking about your body's window of tolerance. I mean, think of your nervous system as an internal surveillance system. Its primary job isn't to make you successful or happy. It's actually to keep you alive. So when you set a big goal, like increasing your income, changing a lifestyle habit, changing a lifelong habit that you've done. Maybe you want to stop doing something, you want to start doing something. Your brain doesn't see a better life. It sees a threat to the familiar, because the familiar is where you have survived so far. Your brain perceives any departure from that as a danger. And this is why you feel that physical resistance, right? When you push beyond your current capacity without that system of safety, your sympathetic nervous system, which we'll call the gas pedal, slams on the floor. But because your brain doesn't think that you can handle that much voltage yet, your parasympathetic system, specifically they call it the dorsal vagal branch, slams on the brakes. And that is a freeze response. So you aren't lazy. You are literally experiencing a biological stalemate where your body has decided that staying still is the only way to stay safe. So to change your life, we don't just change your mind. We have to expand the capacity of that surveillance system to recognize that this new version can also be safe. So think about that. Like from the moment you wake up in the morning, a lot of times your brain is fighting you. It wants you just to get back into bed or to not go and do all the things that you have planned for the day. This is by design. Okay. So now that we understand a little more of the human science behind this, let's talk in reality terms of, okay, now, Krissa, why is it so hard to build these systems? Well, in my book, Why Am I Like This? Uncovering Inherited Programming and Navigating Generational Trauma, I talk about survival mode. And the truth is that I just don't think we can underestimate how our early caregivers, which would be our parents, grandparents, those that we were around the majority of the time when we were growing up, they really did help set that thermostat for our lives. Because, in my situation, I watched my father. He was incredibly goal-oriented. He had to-do lists everywhere. I can remember him crossing things off in red, But unfortunately, he had a lot of those sitting around, and there was a lot of different lists. So he had a lot of things he wanted to accomplish. But what I know is that these goals took a massive toll on him. I would have to say that it wasn't an optimistic experience from what I saw. It was very much an at all costs. So he would sacrifice his family, his health, his well-being to hit a target. And because that was my foundational exposure, I think my brain learned that goals equal pain. It was not a welcomed, inviting experience for me. So I want you to think about, the home that you grew up in and what that was like for you. What were your caregivers like in terms of goals and aspirations and desires? Was it framed in a positive way? Was it framed in a negative light? Was there frustration? Was there tension? Was there disappointment? Because that all has a bearing on the foundation of where you got your thoughts about setting goals and having desires and going towards them. Because if you grew up in a home where struggle was the primary language, your amygdala, which is the brain's kind of smoke detector, it's a little almond-shaped part of your brain that resides at the base of your, at the top of your spine, at the base of your brain stem. It actually views abundance or peace as a threat. It's unfamiliar. And to your primitive brain, unfamiliar equals dangerous. Just like driving your car or taking a phone call could trigger you, right? It could trigger that primitive urge to stay in the cave where it's safe. And it took me until my late 40s to recognize that my resistance, this frustration, it wasn't laziness. It was the foundational structure that I believe I had inherited. So it's not that I say we need to go back and place blame. That's not what this is for. But you just spend a little bit of time looking back, understanding where that came from. Because then guess what? It's time for you to redefine it now. And it doesn't matter how old you are, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. The moment you see the wiring, you again have the power to change it, right? In this time now, you can decide what it is you want and what the relationship is you want to have with this piece of your life. So I want to talk about what we do when we're stuck in that freeze response. When you feel paralyzed and you feel like your tank is empty and you're just stuck. I talk about in my book about the river of misery. And so on one side, you feel terrible and stuck. And on the other side is the life you're constructing. And to cross that, you need to retrain your brain through repetition and reminding it that you're safe, right? Through neuroplasticity, we can overwrite and retrain our brain. But if you're in a freeze state right now, I want you to really stop thinking and start sensing. So first, I want you to go inward. Putting your hand on your chest. This physical touch can trigger the release of oxytocin, which immediately tells your nervous system, I'm here, I'm safe. I have a lot of clients that don't like to do this. I didn't like to do it at first either, but I'm telling you, we need to tap into the feeling, the sensing, okay? Number 2 is your capacity for breath. Inhale that difficulty, the struggles, the challenges, but as you exhale, I want you to make that exhale twice as long as the inhale. And I want you to understand that scientifically, a long exhale stimulates the vagus nerve, which acts as a brake for your fight or flight system. So we want to exhale that difficulty, right? Not just in our mind, but as a physical representation of that. And then the third thing is we want to ask the question. Ask yourself, what do I need right now to feel safe? We have got to create space. Because if your brain is cluttered with the old narratives of I have to sacrifice everything to win, I have to do this right, there's just no room for a new system. And this is all about building new systems, not willpower, capacity, and systems. So breathe out that struggle to create space for the solution and ask yourself, what is it I need right now to feel safe? And I'll tell you, if your brain right now is saying this sounds like a lot of work and I just don't know what to do, Krissa, it's okay. I was there once too. But perhaps you need a guide. And that's the one decision you can do to support yourself right now. And I believe that you'll know when the right time is that you need that guide. Same happened for me. Same happened for many of my clients. So I want to leave you with this. I believe in you and I know you can rewire your brain and mindset so it is working for you and not against you. All right, everyone. I want you to know that constructing a life of embodied peace takes patience and the right tools. And if you are ready to stop that push and crash cycle and start building a system that actually supports your desires, I am here to help. I've done this for myself and countless others, and I know how to get across that river of misery. Now, a great place to start is to grab your copy of my book, Why Am I Like This? This will support you in uncovering your specific survival triggers, which will begin to empower you to take steps towards change. You can find it on Amazon. Also, you can reach out to me to talk about how we can work together on one-on-one to get you to the other side of that river of misery much faster. All right, everyone, stay present, stay curious, and I will see you in the next deep dive. Have a beautiful day.